So this is fun. I'm live again with you guys. And it was cool. I put up my last video and a few people started subscribing. So that's a good scene. I figure I might as well keep recording some of this stuff. And these videos are just to talk about what I'm doing with my agency right now, where I'm at, the struggles I'm having, the successes I'm having. There's some things I've been doing really well at, some things that are hard. And so I just share all of that. I'll talk about my income numbers, what I'm charging for things, sales techniques, how I'm getting clients, and then kind of these other things. I pretty much just look at the different forums and that I'm involved in, and I see, okay, well, what are people commenting on a lot and asking about a lot, especially in the Tai Lopez social media management agency course. And then I'm just going to talk about that stuff, and hopefully I can add a little bit of value for everyone. So I think my lighting is a little bit atrocious tonight. Hope no one cares that much about that. And so there's some things that I've been thinking about this week. Just it's kind of it's a challenging week in some ways. Anyone who's watched these videos knows that I still work a 9 to 5, and I've really been hitting it with that. And then I feel like I just have a lot of catch-up work to do. But I do have one new client, and we still need to match up on price. It's more not that we need to agree on a price, but more if they need to find a way to fund the project. But I'm almost positive that that's going to happen, and we're just going to talk on Monday, and I anticipate locking it in. When we met, they're like, we have to do this. So I'll tell you how I met them. I'll tell you how the deal has progressed so far, and I'll tell you the numbers that we're working with and the type of business it is and everything. I would love to do some shares of the actual content I'm doing, the actual websites I'm doing, and maybe in the future I will, but right now I got to admit I'm a little bit skittish because I don't know if someone's going to see stuff and then they're going to start calling on my clients, or they're going to start causing issues, so for right now I'm not going to be doing that just yet. I'm also going to talk about packages. People talk about having these different packages, and I've had some thoughts on that recently. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, because when I first started taking the Tai Lopez course, I was like, oh, well, you have to have your 3 packages. And then I just realized, I'm like, no, I don't want to do anything with packages. It doesn't make any sense to me because everything I do is so completely custom. Why would I do a package? And then now I'm starting to think about the whole concept of productizing my services, and productizing is essentially creating a package. So I'm going a little bit in full circle here. So this week, this client that I'm almost positive will sign on with me, their website project will be $5,400 to $5,800. And that's what it is. We need a complete redesign of our website. I was just talking to these guys, and I went into this business, and totally solid guys, local business, good people. And here's the issue, is that as I'm talking to them, I see all these cool products. It's like it's a salon type place with a lot of products and styling things. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't see these products anywhere. Like, this is the kind of stuff where I live, I would have to go online and find this either maybe on Amazon, but probably more on like some niche Shopify kind of site, or something like that. And so I was just asking him, I'm like, do you do any e-com? Because I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm like, this stuff looks incredible. And then he was like, no, do you do that? And I said, well, yeah, of course I do. This is my business card, and let's talk about it. And so while we're in there, I try to just, anything in sales, a lot of it, besides knowing your skills and knowing where your expertise is and having confidence and things like that, I think a lot of it is just getting them to already start picturing themselves working with you and receiving the benefits of working with you. Essentially, you're trying to you're trying to get them to see themselves receiving benefits, being it more money, more notoriety, more respect in the community, being able to scale their business, whatever it is. You start to get them to see that, and then you link it back to you as the expert who can provide that. And so how it worked in this case is I'm looking at this stuff like, this is amazing. You guys are amazing. And then I'm like, I look at their website, and I'm looking at their website, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's so boring and stock and uninspiring. And these guys are so inspiring. So I'm like, what's up with this? And so when I'm looking at it, I'm like, how much did you guys pay for this? And I just asked them straight out. And they were a little embarrassed, but they said, more than 3,000, less than 5,000. And I'm like, okay, so they probably paid around, 4K for this. And I told them, I was like, look, man, I would have built you this website for 1,800 bucks, and I would have been embarrassed to charge you that much because I could have built this in 4 hours for you. And they heard that and they kind of knew it was true, but me coming in and saying that with a sense of authority, they're like, yeah, we're totally not satisfied. And so we started kicking around ideas, and right there I just said, hey, you have your computer in front of you, pull up some of the work that I've done. And I just have them looking at my work right there. And this is 3 minutes into having met this guy. And so he's looking at it, he's like, this looks fantastic. And that's the thing about having a portfolio of work, is you can show it off. And I said, for what you paid for your site, this is what I build. This is the level of quality and complexity and robustness of a website you get for what I build. And he looked at it and it was like, it's such a massive difference from what he got, He just got like this dime store website. And then, so I was like, okay, well, are you interested in talking? He goes, yeah, we've been talking about doing e-com, and we just don't know how to do it and how it's going to happen. But and he started telling me about what he wants from it and how he wants to transition from having a 9 to 5 to just doing this business all the time. And so I said, okay, cool. I'll put together a video of stuff. And so I have this app I use. It's called Cloud App, and it's fantastic, and it's not that expensive. I just got a lifetime deal on it on AppSumo. If anyone's interested, let me know. I'll put a link in the description. But so I do this, I do a screen capture, and I just go through their website and I just kind of critique it. And I say, this is what I'm seeing, there's this, and then I start just going through their entire digital profile. I'm looking at social media that they have, I'm looking at YouTubes they have, I'm looking through their website, I'm comparing it to other websites, and this is how I do my audits. Some people like to have this big audit form, and it's very complicated and it has all these different sections in it. And that's fine. I know that works for a lot of people, but I don't do that. And what I do is I turn on my screen capture. I do a video where I'm showing them my screen, my thought process as I'm talking directly to them through their computer. And then with the screen capture software, after I was done with this and I looked through everything, because they had so much amazing stuff online that wasn't reflected by their actual website presence. And so then I sent it to them and I was like, hey, here's some ideas, check this out, we'll talk. And then next time, something was going on, I called them. I was actually calling to see if I could get in there for a haircut appointment. And they were busy, but I said, hey, this is the guy who sent you that whole audit. And he was like, oh yeah, there's some stuff in there. He said he had a certain thing that I had pointed out where he said that was the thing that hooked him and they really want to work with us. And we're going to set up a meeting. And so I was like, great. And so then we set up this meeting. And by the way, that video took me 10 minutes to do. It's like an 8-minute video plus a couple minutes setup. And then I just I just get a link for it and I just send them the link. So it's really easy when I think about how long audits could take, unless you have some kind of software that does it for you. And so then we had our meeting on Tuesday of this week, a couple days ago. And we're in our meeting, we're reinforcing everything that happened on that video, all the things that they're talking about. And then we just start getting into it and we do all this future projection. What would it look like? Give me an example of an incredible site you'd like to have this look like. And we start looking at all these things and see, we're just already talking about how the business is going to be done. And in sales, that's almost always what I do. Anytime that I'm talking to someone, I'm just talking about, I learn what their issues are, and I'm already talking to them like I'm their consultant about what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? How are we going to make you more money? How are we going to expand your business? And this is how I think, because in my mind, I am part of their business already. In my mind, I'm thinking, what do they need? How can they grow? How can they have more money? How can they have more customers? And so I'm already in it with them. As far as I'm concerned, I work for the company now, even before they've hired me. And then it makes it really easy for us to start having these conversations. And so Then as we're getting into it, then eventually it just gets down to what's the money. We start working through all the things, all the inspirations, and then it's just what are the dollars? And then, we talked about that, and it's a little bit high for them. But, then I did the Joe Soto thing where he says, well, tell me what do you make on an average customer per visit? How many times do they visit? How long will they stay with you? How many referrals will they give you? And after we were numbers, which were pretty conservative, we came at one single new customer through a website will generate them over $50,000 lifetime. And so my website costs a tenth of that. So for the tenth of the cost of one customer, or the value of one customer, you can get an entire new website, entire new e-commerce store. And we're going to link the two. We're going to have both of those. And then, of course, I'll sell them on the SEO, because if you have an e-com store, you need to actually be found. So, we'll have to build the content, build the SEO, and do all that. And that cues me in for an ongoing relationship. We have to drive traffic, so they're actually pretty good at social media. But if they weren't, then I'd start selling them on what are the social media packages. How are we going to use Instagram and Facebook and everything to start driving customers to this website and this e-com store? And it's all kinds of these things where I look at, like I said in the last video, I look at the website as being the hub, and then from the website, that's where you branch out to everything else. And to me, that's the way that it works for me, because that's where I'm most confident. To someone else, you might say, well, I'm going to start with your Facebook and Instagram, and then I'll branch out to your website. But to me, that's backwards. That doesn't make sense to me. Okay, so anyway, so we did that. We're going to talk again on Monday. And if you keep watching these videos, I'll tell you next time how that meeting goes. So my camera froze for a second there. I'll tell you. And then what else did I want to say about that? Oh yeah, and a lot of these companies, they need payment plans. Like if you have some kind of big upfront service, then talk to them about financing. Say, okay, so if you have a $4,000 website you're building for them, or say it's a social media package, say, the first month's going to be, $3,000. Well, maybe you don't make the first month $3,000. Maybe you make it less and you ramp up. Or if you have one of these big upfront projects, like you're going to build out all their social media pages for first 20 posts, their descriptions and pictures and everything. It's a kind of a different thing. And so if you're going to do something like that, then maybe you say, all right, well, the upfront fee is $6,000, but we'll just do $2,000 up front, and then you can make these smaller payments. And maybe if you're going to be charging $6,000 up front and $1,500 a month to manage things, then maybe you do, if you're going to do $2,000 up front and then $2,500 a month to manage things until you recoup the rest of your $6,000. So you can do stuff like that. It makes it a lot easier on people because they're not used to spending money on digital marketing, so you have to chunk it down for them. So I was saying I'll talk about how I get customers. I don't cold call a lot. In my normal job, I'm a business developer in the finance industry, and I cold call all the time. And I cold call on huge national companies. I just, companies ranging from 1,400 employees up to 40, 50,000 employees, I will cold call on. So some massive global organizations. And that's fine. I mean, cold calling on a huge company isn't that different than cold calling on a mom and pop shop. So I do that, but in digital marketing, I don't actually do that. I haven't had success from it. It hasn't been what's really worked for me. What I do in digital marketing is I joined my chamber of commerce, and I just started going to networking meetings, and that was cool. But the thing that really changes people's opinion of me is when they see me present. And so at a couple of these networking meetings, I was able to present. And then once some people saw that, then I started getting my first few clients through a chamber. And then I've just had referrals since then. I've had referrals, and then I had two businesses where I just walked in. The salon I just walked in, and then the first website I ever built was just a walk-in. It was for a small retail store in my little tiny downtown where I live. So that's how I mostly do stuff, is networking and referrals, because then people just know me personally. And if you know me, you usually kind of want to work with me, because once I start talking to someone, we get all of these ideas going. Oh, and this one that I'm building that's in the healthcare industry, and this is a pretty big site. This is about a $3,200 site, plus we should have ongoing of about $1,200 to $1,500 a month with them. And with them, what I did is I was at an expo for my Chamber of Commerce, and I was just walking around talking to all the business owners, and I was just getting to know these guys, and they were totally not interested. But as we talked for a while, they start to get hooked because they're talking about their ideas, and I'm talking about, oh, that's really cool. Have you tried this? And they'll be like, no. I'll be like, well, have you tried this? And they'll be like, no. And just in the conversation, they're starting to see this whole world open up to them. And as you open up their world and their eyes and their vision of what's possible, that's when they start to see you as, oh, I want that. And you're obviously the guy who can do it. So I just like having those face-to-face conversations. And then as soon as I can, I get people on a video call, or I'll do one of those screen capture videos. And that's how I usually get clients. And that's actually how I keep up with clients as well, is doing the screen captures. So anyway, income this month, the month isn't over, but it'll probably be that, 54 to 5,800 from this one salon company. And then I have another 2,600 coming in from a company that pays me 2,600 a month to do their SEO and their pay-per-click. And then we do ad spend on top of that. So I guess all that together, it should be about an $8,000 month, 8,000 to 8,400 around there. And let's see if I can scrounge anything else up. And so I'll do an update on the next video. And if there's anything else that people want to hear about, I know I said I was going to talk about packages versus doing custom pricing. I'll talk about it for like 30 seconds, but this video is getting too long. So with the packages, the way that I see the packages is just that, I guess the way that I see them is that they're kind of stiff. And so it is cool to have like some things, like you could say, I have a local SEO package, or I have a optimize your Google My Business package, or you have a package where you do 4 on-site pieces of content and 8 off-site pieces of content with backlinks, or something like that. It's cool to have those, but then I link them into custom work. And so the custom work is going to vary depending on how intricate and how complicated and things like that, what kind of software I have to get involved. And then I will link that to these smaller products essentially. But I'll talk more about that in another video. But I don't like the idea of having like 3 packages, and this is like you tell someone you're either an A, a B, or a C, because people aren't A's, B's, or C's. People are A through Z's with every micro increment in between. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments, and then I'll know what to talk about next time. And I hope that this is some value for people.